Hello. Hope you're all well. It's the end of the week and I'm glad of it. I'm glad it's here. It's been a long, let's be frank, it's been a long, painful week for me. My work has been brutal, so I'm just glad that the long weekend is starting. I don't have work on Monday. It's President's Day here on Monday in the United States, and I get the day off, and thank Christ because I need it. It's been a long, long, arduous, painful, debilitating week at work, man. Just Yeah, where I work is they're cutting the job force by 10% in the next 6 months. So people are losing their jobs, and people don't know who's losing their job yet. And yeah, it's just stressful right now. No one knows their future, and that's always fun, right? That doesn't cause any anxiety, any fear, any tension at all, right? So anyway, it happens. This isn't the first time I've worked somewhere and face the painful reality that I could get laid off, but it's the not knowing. I'm almost I'm in a better place if I know I'm getting laid off. But it's when you don't know, you're like, oh man, what do I do? So I'm dealing with it the best way I can, usually through music, and that's why I'm here talking on my channel right now. I am actually going to show some records tonight. That's right. It's going to be one of those rare instances where I show records. I used to show records all the time. I don't do that so much anymore, but they're right here in front of me. I just got done digitizing all this stuff, and it's all fresh in my mind, and it's fully digitized or ripped, as we say. And I'm going to talk about them. I'm going to hold up product. Yeah, I couldn't give a single shit if any of you buy this stuff. In fact, I hope that you don't. I hope you just go download this stuff somewhere, or you go listen to it on Apple Music and don't buy the records. But I have these, and I'm going to talk about them now. I'm just going to hold this up and keep holding it up as I talk about it. This is the new Saint Etienne So Tough box set. You can see it's a box. Look at that. And they've been doing this for the first three albums. The Foxbase Alpha got it, and then they skipped over this one and went to Tiger Bay. And Tiger Bay got a box set release. I don't know, was it last year? The year before? I didn't pick those two up because I already have original vinyl presses of those. And I just wasn't enticed to buy the box sets. Sorry about the glare there. I haven't picked up the other two box sets yet. I think I might at some point, but I still haven't done it. And they're still available. I thought maybe these would be really limited or sold out immediately, but they're not that hard to get. So that's a good thing. I picked this one up because this is my favorite Saint Etienne album. It always has been. It takes me back. When I think of this album, when I think of the fact that I've been listening to this album for over 30 years now, it blows my mind. I cannot believe that this album is that old. It just makes me think of my own oldness. Yeah, the fact that I've been listening to this for over 30 years is mind blowing to me. I bought this album, I don't know, the week or two after it came out. And I listened to it regularly ever since. This is a brilliant album. I really love this record. Definitely, just in my opinion, this is Saint Etienne's best work in album form. I think this is their best album, even to this day. I love this band. I'm not trying to say it's just an opinion. I'm not trying to say this is their best album no matter what. And if you're wrong, if you disagree with me, you're wrong. Like that's not what I'm saying. This is their best record to me. And I've listened to everything they've done, every record, most of their singles. I've heard it all. I love this band. Seen them live a number of times, and I really love these guys. This is their best work for me because it just came out during a really magical period. 1993 was a really exciting time for music. This band was soaking it all up. They were, Saint Etienne's a pop band at their heart, but they also employ a lot of experimental stuff and folk and pop and psychedelic and ambient and balladry, and they just do it all. and they do it flawlessly. And that's one of the things I really love about Saint Etienne is these guys just love music. The guys in the band are, they put out their own compilations. If you know what I'm talking about, on Ace Records, um, Bob Stanley and Pete Wiggs have put out this string of really fantastic compilations on the Ace label. One of them is like a homage to old electronic computer music. And then there's a folk one, and there's a country one, and there's a pop one, and there's a rave one. They just love music. And you can hear it when you listen to this band. There's all kinds of influences going on. I think they're pop band. That is their main crux. That is the fulcrum of what this band does. They're pop. But they're not afraid to interject all kinds of other influences, like everything I just mentioned and then some. And to me, this came out at a time in 1993 where there just was so much going on in the landscape of music, especially dance wise, that made these guys really interesting. I think this is their most, I don't know. I mean, as a fan of electronic music, I always lean toward this record being my favorite because it's very sample heavy. I mean, they have plenty of samples on all their records, of course, but at the time this came out, rave culture was still a big thing, and this was just one of those records you put on after going to a rave. The rock kids could listen to it because it had beats and samples, and the club kids could listen to it or the club kids can listen to it because it was full of beats and samples, and the rock kids can listen to it because it had rock and roll stuff and guitars, and it was just all kinds of things all mashed together. This is one of those records. It's one of those records that kind of, that kind of dance rock pop crossover had already been happening for several years, but this record just kind of kept it alive and pushed it even further forward. And So Tough is a great album because of it. It still sounds good. It hasn't really aged much. As I was listening to it, I'm like, this still sounds fresh, man. Love this record. There nary a track on here that I don't love. Maybe one or two that I don't think have aged all that well, but the rest of it still sounds fantastic. And this is a pretty cool box set. I would recommend this to anybody who has to have this on vinyl. I would recommend it. There's some cool extras on this. Like a whole extra album of extras, but I'll get into all that right now. But I wanted to talk about why I like this album so much first. The first record, Fox Base Alpha, I like a lot, and I love Tiger Bay. I'm a big Underworld fan, and that was produced by Rick Smith of Underworld. So Tiger Bay kind of has that. I wouldn't say it sounds like an Underworld record, but it does have that slick club electronic sound to it. This does too, but not as much. This was like a good bridge between the first album and the third album. It's got a lot of folk and pop and rock, and it's got a lot of dance and club and house, and I think to this day, this is their best record that represents all kinds of different genres at once. They never did it better than on here, in my opinion. I'm sure there's somebody out there who will disagree with me, but it was never better than here. And just the cover, the artwork, the color schemes they're using, the whole vibe and theme of the album. It's really fun. Just a great record. And I was happy to get this. Obviously, here's the cover. Here's the back cover, the band. And yeah, I've seen these guys, I don't know, I've seen them 3 or 4 times in my life. The first time I saw them was a while. They'd been out for a while. They didn't really tour the States all that much. And being from the Northwest as I was, I don't remember them coming to town very much in the early 90s. I think the first time I saw them was on the Sound of Water tour. I saw them in Seattle. It was the first time. So yeah, they'd been around for pretty much a decade before I first saw them. But being here in the United States, you had a much more limited amount of opportunities to see this band. If you were in the UK, I'm sure you saw them all the time. They were touring all the time there. What's cool about this record is the initial press of this was on one record. And the album, it's well over 50 minutes long. It's almost an hour. So they cram a lot of music onto one side. And so the sound quality was never good. They take the album and they stretch it out over 2 records. So that's cool. And it does sound good. I think it could have sounded a little better. They pressed it at 45 RPM, and I understand the urge to do that when you take originally a single record and you space it out over 2 records. The tendency is going to be to press it at 45 RPM, and I understand that. I still wish they would have pressed it at 33 RPM. I mean, it depends on your setup, but most setups, a record spinning at 45 RPM is going to create a little bit more hum and noise than it would at 33. I would have preferred 2 records pressed at 33 RPM. I think it would have sounded slightly better. Not a huge complaint, but if you're an audiophile and you don't want any hum on your records, you might find a little bit here. So I don't know. If that's a big deal to you, you might stop and pause before you pick this up. Again, a very small complaint. It still sounds pretty good. I didn't hear any pops or clicks. If that kind of shit bothers you, I didn't hear any. That's the kind of stuff that doesn't bother me. That's easily fixable, and it's a record. There's this myth with new record buying that brand new, fresh records shouldn't have any crackle or pops. I mean, yeah, they do. They always have. Sometimes you don't get it. A lot of times you do. Even on a brand spanking new sealed record, you're going to find pops and clicks on records. I feel like that's a younger thing. Like younger people who get into it, they get super aggro. There's pops and buzzes and stuff like that. But I don't know. If you've been buying records for a long time, you just know that's all part of it. That's easily fixable. Whatever your software you use to rip records, that's easily dealt with if you've taken the time to understand your setup and your equipment and the software you use. It's easily to take that shit right out of there. This sounds good though. And you get the extra record with unreleased tracks. Not They say unreleased tracks, not all of them are unreleased. There are a couple that have been previously released. But not a big deal. The majority of the record, I'd never heard of these tracks, and I have all the 12 inches and all the B-sides. The majority of this bonus album is completely fresh to my ears music. So great album, man. Still sounds good. Tracks, I mean, to me, the best song they ever did is on here with Avenue. Is there a better Saint Etienne song than Avenue? I don't know. Argue with me if you want. What a beautiful song. It still sounds fantastic 30 plus years later. They were on top of their game with this record. This is also the first record that Sarah Cracknell was like a full-time member of the band. Like she joined, I might be wrong in my chronology here, but with Fox Base Alpha, she didn't provide all the vocals on that album, but she did come in to sing on the album. And then with this album, this was the first time like she was here. She was in the band singing all the songs. Well, not all of them actually. There is one song on here that she does not sing on, but this was the first time that she was like full-time member of the band in record form, album form. So tough. Fantastic album. Let me get into this. Yeah, Avenue. Whew. I mean, just the singles alone. Avenue, You're in a Bad Way, Hobart Paving. Man, some great stuff on here. Here's the other side of the box. I just took the lid off. It's just, simple lid type box scenario here. I keep all my stuff together. This was the hype sticker that was on the cover. There you go. So tough. You get a sticker, a So Tough sticker. That was kind of cool. I don't know that it had that on the. Let me see here. On the hype sticker, it says set includes 3 12-inch vinyl discs, exclusive 7-inch single, 28-page book, and lots more. I don't know if it's lots more. You do get a sticker. And you do get a download code. I'm not going to show you the other side because there's a number on there, which is the download code. And I don't want you dirty bastards stealing my download code because I know you would. And I wouldn't really blame you because there's some great music on here. This is the 7-inch. There are two versions of Hobart paving on here. Two versions that are different than the album version. That's cool. Cool song. Total ballad. St. Etienne in full-on balladry mode there with Hobart paving. They recreate the press kit that originally came with the album. You guys have seen me show press kits before on this channel. I showed one for Peace and Love, the Pogues. I showed one for Meat Beat Manifesto, Subliminal Sandwich. I might have shown a couple of others. I don't remember. But this was much more commonplace prior to 20 years ago. Record labels would put like bios and a bunch of hype type to hype up the record. They'd include some glossy photos of the band. And by the way, you can never have enough glossy photos of Sarah Cracknell. I mean, the more photos of her, the better. But they recreate the press sheet. I thought that was cool. And it folds out. That's right, people. I'm showing product tonight. Here's your product. You like seeing product, and here it is. You get a poster. You're not going to be able to see me fold it all out. I'll try my best, but you get a poster of the cover. You get some original tour dates down here. This is a promotional poster at the time. Hey, here's a new album, and here's where they're going to be playing. And by the way, they're not coming anywhere near you in the United States. What do you think about that? So you get a poster. It smells. It's got that new paper smell. I love that. And then the records. The record itself, really nice glossy cover. It does have those perforated notches on the side, which I don't know, kind of bug me. You know, that's a symbol of a lower quality. You know, a lower quality. I'll keep. Yeah, I was going to expound on that, but I'll just keep it at that. I'm not a big fan of cheaper quality like that. Production is a little cheaper in my opinion if you have perforation notches on the end. I mean, I dare you to go find a record that was ever made prior to 20 years ago that ever had this. It never happened. So slightly lower production quality on that. A little disappointing, but the glossy jacket makes up for it. This is a really nice sleeve. Original back cover. This is what the original press sounds like. Like I mentioned, I have an original UK press of this. It's only one record. And it's also not in a gatefold sleeve like this reissue is. And you get a bunch of photos here, more photos. And I don't remember ever seeing any of these photos. Obviously the same day, the same photo shoot. I don't remember ever seeing these. I'm assuming these were taken at the time. They do look a little dated. They're all in black and white. Very nice touch. And then you haul these records out and you get just plain old. In fact, I want to look this something up real quick. And I know this is really exciting for the majority of you to watch me look stuff up on the internet. This is super exciting. I know, but I'm going to look up just to compare and contrast the original UK issue here. Yeah, okay. So the original inner sleeve has some illustrations of Bob and Pete. Because as I was looking at these photos, I thought, were these on the original inner sleeve? I couldn't remember seeing them, and I was right to think that they were not on the original inner sleeve. The original inner sleeve is totally different. There you go. And there's no indication of the original inner sleeve artwork anywhere in this box set. So if that matters to any of you, there you go. Anyway, here is the new inner sleeves you get. They didn't put these in poly inner sleeves. Could they have easily done that? Yes, they could have. They didn't do it. Thankfully, it doesn't really affect the press. These still sound pretty damn good. I already talked about my 45 versus 33 preference. Blah, blah, big deal. Who cares? It still sounds pretty good. Double wax on this, people. It's worth it. That was my one complaint of the original vinyl press is there's too much music crammed on one side of vinyl. Because yeah, this record it's not quite an hour long. It's probably closer to 50 minutes, but even at 50 minutes, you've got 25 minutes of music per side, and that's a lot. So I like the way they space it out. It's necessary. I'm glad they took the time to do that. And you get that here. And then here is the bonus record. Really love the cover. It's the same little girl here. Just really cool vibe. Awesome pictures. Really fits with the sound of the music. That's the new cover. Check that out. Kind of cool, right? You get more photos. Here's the track listing, and they do kind of a commentary here. They talk about where the songs came from, why they left them off the album, why they were destined as B-sides, what they were feeling when they wrote them. Kind of cool. And you get the same inner sleeve. So that's the bonus record. And it's a full album, man. You get a full album worth of stuff. Now, not all these tracks are new. A couple of these, like Johnny and the Echo Cafe, like there are songs that were previously released. There's another version of You're in a Bad Way here, which was previously released somewhere. I don't remember where. Maybe one of the promo singles I have. In fact, I have one here and I'll show it. So not every track on here is exclusive, but most of it is, and I think that's a good reason to pick that up. And then at the bottom here, this is the last little tidbit you get with this box set. You get a booklet, and it's pretty cool. You get colored photos, you get black and white photos. Again, more pictures of Sarah Cracknell. It's always a good thing. Um, some of these photos I remember, like this one, this color photo, this one here. Those of you who subscribed to the Melody Maker and the NME at the time, or Select Magazine or whatever, if you read those, you'll recognize some of these pictures. I did subscribe to all those magazines, so I am used to seeing some of these photos. Seeing these now comes right back to me. Like some of these photos I remember. But that's part of the fun. If you were around when this stuff originally came out, it's very nostalgic to see this stuff. Oh, here it is. Okay. I was just talking about that inner sleeve. Here it is. I'm glad I'm able to show this. This was the original inner sleeve right here. Pete was on one side and Bob was on the other. So there you go. And you get a lot of words. All this text here is new. It's new criticisms and interviews and good stuff. If you love this album, you'll be pleased to be reading all of this and you'll get some extra photos and stuff. So all in all, a really cool box set. I would recommend it. I think I paid $100 for this. That is a lot of money. I know. I do love this album. It's really one of my favorite records. It's one of my favorite pop-up records, and I was happy to pick it up. Now, whether or not it's worth $100 to you, obviously, you need to figure that out on your own. You do get the poster. You do get the press kit. You do get the download code, and you do get the sticker and the 7-inch. So it does have some good stuff in there. I'll let you decide whether or not it's worth $100 for one of your all-time favorite records. I think if you're like me and this is one of your all-time favorites, you probably will step up and buy this. I would recommend it. It's not perfect. It could have been better, but in this day and age, the way vinyl pressings are going, it's hard to get an absolutely perfect press of anything anymore. So, in terms of this record, I would recommend it. They did a pretty solid job. I'm going to talk about the singles here because, like I said, I just digitized all this stuff and it's sitting right here next to me. So I'm going to talk about it. This is You're in a Bad Way. This is the original 12-inch. This is a UK 12-inch. This version on here is different than what you hear on the UK release. It's the same version you get on the US release. They use different versions at the time. I prefer the US version, the 12-inch version. It's just a little more shimmering, a little more pop-tastic, a little more glamorous, a little more big. It fits. I always thought it fit the rest of the mood of the album a little better. That UK, the original UK version's not bad. I like this 12-inch version better. And the B-sides are really good. Really good. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's the back cover. What's that? You want to see the label? Sure, I'll show you the label. If it's that important to you. There's one of the labels. The other label looks fine. Now, someone needs to tell me, when I bought this record new back in the day, this was inside of it. I can't tell if was this supposed to come with a 12-inch? Or was this someone that just lost their cat photo? And I bought this brand new. And this has been inside this record sleeve since the day I bought it back in 1993. So I don't know. I mean, is this supposed to be in there? I don't know. I've always kept it in there, but I don't know if it was supposed to be in there. I've every time I pull this record out, I see this cat, and I'm like, oh man, I hope the cat's okay. Obviously, it's over 30 years ago, so the cat's long dead. But at the time, I remember thinking, God, did someone lose their cat? Someone looking for their cat? I would much rather believe that it's supposed to be in here. And I can see Saint Etienne doing that. I can see them putting a random photo of a cat in their record. It kind of makes sense to me. I don't know. I'm going to believe that it was supposed to be in there. Here's another 12-inch. Join our club. Now, this came out around the time this song wasn't on the album, on the original vinyl, the UK edition. This track was on the US edition. When the record came out in the United States, they fucked around with the track listing a little bit, put some different versions on there. So it was worth having both. It'd be interesting to get a vinyl press of the US version. But all of the versions that ended up on that US version are available in the UK, but just on different 12 inches and stuff. This is a good record. Definitely more of a club record, like the title suggests. And you get a couple of B-sides. Here you go. I'm showing this again. This didn't come out. This was not on the record. This was kind of like this record came out. I think this came out between the first two albums, I want to say. Yeah, 1992. This came out after Fox Base Alpha and before, God, I almost said Tiger Bay, before So Tough. But I show it, when I hear this track, again, it was on the US version of So Tough. So whenever I see this, I think, oh yeah, So Tough. In my mind, this is part of that album. So I thought I'd show that. And here, as I mentioned before, this is just one of my favorite singles of all time, Avenue. Just a wonderful track, brilliant stuff. Really, I love the artwork. I've always loved this about Saint Etienne, that their artwork, the amount of detail and thought that go into their sleeves, the photos they use, the imagery they strike. I really enjoy these guys, how they present their records and all of everything they do. I love it. And this, to me, is the greatest song they ever did, Avenue. As you heard me mention before, Johnny and the Echo Cafe is on the box set. So, I think the record company was trying to brag that there's an album of unreleased tracks. I'm like, well, almost, not all of them. Some of these B-sides have been out. So I would highly recommend you just pick this record up because it's just one of the greatest singles of all time. And here's the label. And you get Avenue all on one side, all by itself, the way it should be celebrated. And the three B-sides are all on the B-side. Ah, love this record. I was listening to it earlier. I'm like, damn, this record sounds better than ever. There's so much going on. Such an emotional track. So well written. The vocals are beautiful. Music doesn't get any better than Avenue. Doesn't get any better. And this is a promotional 12-inch of Avenue, as you can see. Slightly different cover. And you get 4 remixes here. You get Variety Club, Butlins, Marshall, and Venusian. There you go. You get 4 remixes, all kind of down tempo. I wouldn't say hip hop, but they definitely have a little of that 90s trip hoppy feel to them. And this is pre trip hop. This came out in 90, was it 93 or 92? I want to say, yeah, see, this came out in 92. This was the single that preceded the album. This is how they were hyping up the album, and what a way to hype it. And there were only a couple hundred of this. I have a press sheet in here. I forgot I had this. This is one of those things I feel like you guys will appreciate seeing. I don't feel like a lot of people see this. I got this through one of my record pools when I was a DJ. This is a DJ reaction sheet. I never filled these out. I always kept them blank because I thought it was more interesting. But these were made for the record label. They wanted to know how people in clubs reacted to these songs when DJs played them. And so the DJ's job, I never did it, of course, but our job was to fill these out. Did people dance? Did they not dance? What parts of the country? See, I was in America. I still got one of these. I got a lot of British promotional records. Regions of the country. They wanted you to mark off what region you're in. And then the other side here indicating that only 200 copies were made. Yeah, right there, with only 200 mailed out. So not a lot of these exist. I thought, again, I sometimes I like to show stuff like this because I just know people are never going to see these. So yeah, there are only 200 of this in the whole world. So check this out. Feast your orbs on this little baby because you more than likely will never see this. And it's good. Yeah, Avenue is a track that should be remixed and should be celebrated and re-examined and re whatever. It's a fantastic song. And here are the labels. Just like the cover. I'm surprised they only mailed 200 of these out, honestly. But Saint Etienne wasn't. They were. It was just a different time. They were a different band, different context. But there's that. Now they released Hobart Paving in the UK, and I have that 12-inch somewhere, but I wasn't able to find it. I know I have it somewhere. It's got the exact same cover as this. This is the US double 12-inch of Who Do You Think You Are, which was another single only situation, I think. I'm pretty sure. Who Do You Think You Are? I think was it a double A side? You know what? Let me look. Let me do some more exciting internet research as you guys watch, because I know you guys love watching dudes look things up on the internet. Isn't that exciting? Yes, it was a double A side. There you go. In the UK. But here in America, they pushed Who Do You Think You Are? That was the song they were promoting. This is a double 12-inch. Does this even have Hobart Paving? Yeah, it doesn't have Hobart Paving on here. It has 8 versions of Who Do You Think You Are? In fact, no, it doesn't. It has 7 versions of Who Do You Think You Are? And then it has Your Head, My Voice, which is an Aphex Twin mix. There are 2 Aphex Twin mixes on here. The rest of the tracks on here, you could flush right down the fucking toilet, honestly. I think it was Roger S. who did these mixes, right? Yeah. Roger S. was like an American house guy. He has a couple of good records, but it was the Aphex Twin mixes that fantastic. And I just ripped these and they sound better than ever. God, Aphex Twin, man. I mean, who doesn't love this guy? We all love Aphex Twin. We all should love Aphex Twin. His remixes here are fucking fantastic. Some of the greatest. Some of his best remix work, I think, are right here. His 2 remixes here. And that's another thing I love about Saint Etienne is they've always chosen really great bands to remix their work. I highly recommend you pick up the Casino Classics compilation they did. I think that came out in '96. I've ripped that before. I ripped that to digital a couple years ago. It's a triple album, and it really does a good job of compiling most of their greatest remix work. It's got Aphex Twin on there. It's got Andy Weatherall on there. It's got the PFM remix of The Sea, which is amazing. It only really leaves out one mix of theirs. It leaves out the Autechre mix of Like a Motorway. And the Autechre mix of Like a Motorway is my favorite Saint Etienne mix. So it has a lot of great remixes. It doesn't have my favorite on there. But it has the full Rick Smith remix of Cool Kids of Death, or Kinds of Death. I think Cool Kinds of Death. I think it was originally called Cool Kids of Death, but someone was offended by that and or no, wait, Cool Kinds of Death. Sorry, I can't get this shit right in my head. It's been 30 years, people. Yeah, it was Cool Kinds of Death, but that offended somebody, and so they changed it to Cool Kids of Death, I think. But it's got that full 15-minute Underworld remix, and it's got the full David Holmes remix, and it's got the Aphex Twin mix, and the PFM mix, and the Andy Weatherall mix. I mean, pick up Casino Classics if you want a classic remix album. It's amazing. Get this for the two Aphex mixes, because Casino Classics only has one Aphex mix. This has them both. Totally, totally, totally worth it. And I pulled this out. I totally forgot I had this. It's a boring CD. It didn't even come with a picture insert. This is a US promo for You're in a Bad Way. And it's got both versions of the track. In fact, on here, they call it the alternative mix, but the alternative mix is the UK album version. And then the album mix is the US album version. And then it has an interview with Sarah Cracknell. It says here, St. Etienne speaks, the truth and trauma in their own words behind England's Dukes and Duchess of Pop. They interview Sarah Cracknell. And yeah, she just talks for, I don't know, 9 or 10 minutes. I remember she says she has a crush on Mark Gardner from Ride, I think. I think that's on this interview. She's talking about the crush she has on Mark Gardner. And that impressed me because I loved Ride back then. Ride was one of my favorite bands. So, there's your Saint Etienne video. Me showing records. Who do you think you are? Which is absolutely essential. The Avenue remixes. Avenue. Join our club, which really isn't from So Tough, but it's close. And then You're in a Bad Way. And of course, the album So Tough. I would recommend picking this up. It's not perfect, but is any vinyl press perfect anymore? I don't think so. It's tough. And if they are perfect, how much money are you willing to spend on it? Records are expensive these days, man. Production costs are going up. Record labels keep shutting down because they can't afford the cost. It's a depressing time, man. It's not the greatest time for records. And it's hard to see it getting any better. But for the time being, this is a good compilation. This album stands the test of time. It still sounds fantastic. I really enjoyed revisiting this album. And if you've never heard this, go give it a shot. I think it's absolutely worth your time. And if you know this album, go listen to it again because you know how great this is. It's fantastic. We love this album. We love this band. Check it out. I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.